5 o'clock, call the meeting to order, please. Roll call, please, Cassandra.
Legislator Frost,
Here.
Legislator Calamus,
Here.
Legislator Mosher. Here. Legislator Leindecker,
Here.
Legislator Nortz,
Here.
Legislator Moorhan. Here. Legislator Leviker,
Here.
Legislator Osborne has been excused, Legislator Nellenbach,
Here.
and Legislator Dahlhoff.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance? Legislator Calamus, would you lead us in the invocation, please?
Heavenly Father, we come before you today seeking wisdom and guidance as we gather. Grant us, Lord, the humility to listen with open hearts and minds to one another and to seek common ground. Bless each legislator and each person with wisdom and insight. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. We have a public hearing tonight that I would like to open. It's the Round 8 Restore New York application for the redevelopment of 6832 McAlpine Street, Lions Falls, in an amount not to exceed $2 million. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on that? Would you come forward, sir, please, and state your name for the record?
Steve Krager. How much money is the county getting for rehabilitation of that school?
Cass, you want to speak to it? So it's an application, Steve. It's not county money. It's an application of the state of New York for up to $2 million.
How did the county get the building?
We took it because there were unpaid taxes on it. We had no choice.
Yeah, but isn't that done in a tax sale?
There was no tax sale.
How come?
Mr. Chairman, if I can just, first of all, this is a time for you to be able to comment on the public hearing, not to necessarily ask questions of the board, but in response to your question, there was a tax foreclosure and it was foreclosed and we had a judgment and an order from the court on it. That's how the county obtained title.
Yeah, I know how it's done. I know how it was done. If that's the case, why is that building, why is that address still on the tax roll or on the back taxes?
Steve, if you'd like to have a conversation about this time, we can do that with the county attorney, but this is not the time
Okay.
or place to do that.
Right. If the county gets the money, the $2 million or 2 million, up to 2 million, what is it going to be used for?
Again, this is not the time or place for that, but we can have that conversation if you would like.
Yeah, I would like, because I know what you guys are going to use it for. You're going to use it for homeless, same as the illegals. You're going to bring illegals into our town. It's wrong. It's wrong. And you know that. You know that, Larry.
I don't know that at all, Steve.
You know they're going to use it for homeless, don't you?
I deny that. I don't know that either.
You
I don't-
should know. If you're putting a resolution together to get that building, to put $2 million into it, what are you going to use it for? Yeah, I know what you're going to use it for, Larry. And I think the whole deal of how the board went behind a lot of people's back to obtain that building because there's money. You see a lot of money coming in. Yeah.
The effort behind that building is to put it back on the tax rolls as an asset, where right now it's a liability. Beyond that, there is no plan to put homeless in there or anything that the community itself would not support. So I don't know where you're getting your information from, but as far as I know, it's not accurate.
Can this board state right here tonight that there will not be homeless or illegals in that building?
Personally, I can say that.
You'll make sure it doesn't happen personally? I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this public hearing? If not, we'll leave it open for the required 30 minutes. And we'll move on to the approval of the April 2nd board meeting. They stand approved if no one has any amendments that they would like to offer. Pledge of the floor. Is there anyone here that would like to make comments in general on any subject? Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 6, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee has met, and they recommend to waive rules to act upon late resolutions.
Need someone to make a motion, please. Andrea, do I have a second? Vince, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Clerk of the Board reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Board of Legislators received 2 adopted resolutions from Orleans County titled Approving Support for Rescuing Emergency Medical Services and Opposing Senate Bill S. 4545 and Assembly Bill A. 3069 that attempt to consolidate the 109 industrial development agencies into 10 regional industrial development agencies. They also received an adopted resolution from Sullivan County titled Calling on the Governor and Legislature to Support Community Colleges, urging them to develop an equitable county chargeback formula and urging them to take over the cost of health insurance for community colleges as they do for 4-year SUNY schools. The semi-annual mortgage tax report for October 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024 was completed and distributed to the Board of Legislators. A warrant was signed for the sum of $182,792.28, which has been apportioned to the tax districts, and the Treasurer's Office has been directed to pay the respective amounts due to the towns, villages, and County of Lewis pursuant to the provisions of Section 261 of the tax law. May is recognized as National Foster Care Month and is an opportunity to spread the word about the needs of the more than 391,000 children and young people in foster care. This year's theme, Engaging Youth, Building Supports, Strengthening Opportunities, shines a light on how Lewis County can best support young people and help them successfully transition to adulthood. Every May, we should take time to celebrate the families that open their homes and hearts to children in need. We can also express our appreciation to volunteers and professionals that help our foster youth find permanent homes. In Lewis County, we also recognize the importance of kinship care placements with relatives and close friends. Maintaining relationships with relatives and kin can increase stability, reduce trauma, and help children maintain cultural connections and a sense of belonging. National Foster Care Month is an opportunity to encourage individuals and families to volunteer their time, energy, and talents on behalf of children in foster care and their biological families, kinship caregivers, and foster parents during this month and throughout the year. Together, Lewis County can make a difference in the lives of youth in foster care. Let's improve how we engage, support, and prepare youth to transition out of care into adulthood and independent living. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll move to standing committee reports, finance and rules. Tom isn't here. I don't know if anyone has anything that they want to. Jeff? Okay. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purchasing department reports that in April, they opened the downtown stabilization project, Stevens Block grant bids, hazard mitigation plan update bids, and replacement of various overhead doors bid. Currently, there are RFPs being worked on for the 911 tower's security locks and cameras and demolition of house on the Osceola Road that is in the highway right-of-way. A surplus auction ended April 19th with various items from highway. There are plans to have another surplus auction for various items from recreation, forestry, and parks in the near future.
Any questions for Jeff? If not, we'll thank you and move to general services with Legislator Moorhan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board of Elections reports that they have mailed out 1,300 postcards letting Village of Lowville residents know that their voting location is the new office building on East State Street. There were 20 printers, 20 poll pads, and 20 print pads tested for the presidential primary. 90 voters took advantage of the early voting days in March. The annual mail check files were created and submitted to be processed for the 2024 election year. The cards were mailed to all voters confirming their information and election dates to be held in Lewis County. Thank you.
Any questions for Andrea? Thank you, Andrea. We'll move to Health and Human Services with Legislator Moser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The probation department reports that they are currently supervising 159 adult probationers, 36 of whom are DWI cases. In addition, they supervise 12 conditional discharge ignition interlock cases, 4 drug court cases, 14 JD cases, and are working on 11 pre-sentence investigations. In March, the probation department and Stop DWI spent the day at Copenhagen Central School in conjunction with the Save a Life tour. This tour brings distracted and impaired driving simulators to schools throughout the country. The probation department and Stop DWI participated in the Beaver River Central School annual career showcase. The day was a great opportunity for the students to learn about probation and try on impairment goggles so that simulate drug and alcohol impairment.
Any questions for Jess? Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll move to Legislator Nortz, who's the board's rep on the hospital board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the last Board of Managers meeting, a letter of recommendation came across. I think I would like to share with the body. This is a nomination is from a patient who came directly to Human Resources to express his sincere gratitude for the care he received. This is what he wrote. 22 years ago, my wife and I were in a very bad motorcycle accident. The Lord put some very competent people in our path. They used their gifts to save our lives. You would think once would be enough. They took many parts out of me, including a kidney. My other kidney healed and has served me well since. Last summer, I was putting a new roof on my house. It was hot. I got dehydrated. I had an appointment to go see the surgeon for a consult. The nurse took my vitals and said they were okay, but asked if I was okay. I said, I'm just tired. I've been working hard. I'll be all right. She asked if I could walk across the parking lot. I said yes, but I may have to stop and rest if I could. I completed the consultation and started to leave. When I got to the nurse's station to check out, this employee had other plans. She asked if I would please forgive her as she had called upstairs and asked for a provider to see me before I left. I stated that I did not currently have a family provider, and she said that I would have one before I left. Where was I here? The provider examined me and asked me to go to the ER. I said, I'm not going to do that. He then asked if I would go downstairs to the lab for blood work and promised not to leave until I saw him a half hour. I completed the blood work, waited to see him again. He told me that I only had one kidney and it was operating at 30% and my internal organs were already shutting down. He begged me to go to the ER. I tried to reason with him and said I would go home, drink lots of water, and rest. He said, if you do, you'll never make it back to the ER. If you go to the ER, I will come down as soon as I am done here. Well, they kept me for 2 days, flushed my kidneys and rehydrate me. Now I'm up to 51% and holding my own because of these employees, their love for their job, their professional attitude, and they're willing to go the extra mile. I am alive today. The employees he are talking about are Joellen LaFontaine and Keith Bates. I think that speaks volumes as to what we have up at the hospital to serve our public. And that's the only report I want to give today, sir.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Vince? If not, we'll move to project manager's report with Jim and Nick Garrido.
Again, I'd like to thank the board and Ryan for the opportunity to report on the capital project. We're pushing towards closeout. There's some remaining work that Nick will tell you about. We're in the process of closing out the plumbing contract. He's finished his work. He's submitted all of his paperwork and documents. So that's one of the 5 closed out. So, and the next one we're going to push hard for is the fire protection contractor. He has a minor change order because we didn't use his allowance, and his paperwork will be coming along soon. So we're getting there. There's still some remaining work at the site, and Nick will explain that to you.
The remaining work, they've just been working on odds and ends. The work up at DSS is almost complete. They had a little bit of trim work to do around the building. Paving was hopefully going to be this week. We had a little issue with the project manager or something. He's in the hospital, so they got thrown off a loop on that. But their plan is to be here Monday, as long as the weather cooperates, which this week doesn't look promising. So, but hopefully Monday they'll be there paving, and then after paving, there's just site restoration, seeding, plantings. They've got a few things to do around the site, and that'll be pretty much it. Trails and Parks and Rec moved in on April 8th, and they seem to be loving the building. Every time I go by, they're smiling. So, but that's it. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you, guys. And we'll move to the county manager report. Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few items to share with the board. First of all, New York State did finally adopt their budget in late April. It's a $237 billion budget. However, I would say, unlike the last couple of years, this is a budget that's not too bad for county governments. There's no new mandated programs as far as we're aware at this time, and there's no new cutbacks in terms of putting more costs onto counties. So, last year was a bad year for county governments with the Medicaid shift. This year was not quite so bad. So I think they recognized they tagged us pretty good last year, probably. So overall, the state's spending plan is about a 3.5% increase in spending. They are counting on statewide a 2.5% increase in sales tax over the course of the year. So far in Lewis County, we've only seen about a 1% increase in sales tax year over year. So we'll continue to track that. Let's see, a few highlights, additional funds that are available for stuff that county governments do. $85 million additional for the PSAP grant. That's our 911 infrastructure and radio system. $50 million additional for municipal infrastructure. $23 million additional for elections. We won't have to apply for that. That'll just be doled out to each county proportionately, with $5 million extra just for the 2024 presidential election. $15 million for retail theft. That'll go to the DAs and sheriffs. I'm not certain our share of the $15 million will be very high, but that's what's been made available to counties. And then $500 million for clean water infrastructure. That is a pot of money that we will have a lot of interest in tapping into. We're already working with Turin, obviously, great project with Josh. Constableville, Krogan, and Denmark all have water projects that are on the table as well, and Loudville. So good things, and hopefully we can tap into that money. 5% increase for our early intervention program. We already increased our early intervention rates to providers, but you'll hear Ashley, I'm sure, talk about this throughout the year, but we have a waiting list right now for early intervention for our pre-kindergarten program, and a lot of counties do. So this rate increase, I think, is from the state will help. Let's see, in-rem tax foreclosure. So in the budget, they finally included legislation that, for the first time, attempts to rebuild what was taken apart by the Supreme Court in terms of in-rem tax foreclosure. So we'll have to have ongoing discussions about how we handle that. That's going to be litigated through the next several years. So we'll have to figure out if we want to go forward with an auction or not, based on the new legislation. They did put in some stuff about housing, but luckily a lot of it is opt-in. So you can choose to opt in, for example, for the good cause eviction. That's not something that I anticipate that Lewis County will be looking to do, strengthen the rights of tenants and those types of things. I doubt that's something our municipalities will go for. Let's see, Medicaid, above and beyond the governor's recommended budget, the state legislature added $1.2 billion to the Medicaid budget, and the now projected Medicaid deficit over the next 3 years is $5 billion. So that's with the bite that they took out of counties last year. So we keep talking about this. I think we're going to continue to talk about it because I think it's going to come back to us and come back on county governments within the next 5 to 10 years. It's almost hard to see how it couldn't, the way the trend is going. Session ends there in Albany on June 15th. So that'll be the last day for the state legislature. So that's on the state budget. I've got a couple other items, but any questions or thoughts on the state budget? Okay. As I mentioned last month, I was able to go to Washington, D.C. for 4 days with Advocate Drum. So I've sent all you guys the report from that trip. We had a great experience. We were able to meet with some of our federal leaders and talk about the importance of Fort Drum. Coincidentally, Advocate Drum also released their economic impact, $2.5 billion annual economic impact of Fort Drum to our North Country region. Nearly 10%, 9.6% of all employment in Lewis County is directly correlated to Fort Drum. So it really behooves us to pay attention to that, which we have been. I would also like to introduce our new community engagement specialist, Kaylee Rhodes. She's here with us. She started a couple weeks ago. So Kaylee's first 2 assignments are 2 things. One, she's working on consolidating and getting a hand on all the various Lewis County social media accounts, so we can, hopefully kind of have a social media plan. And then secondly, working on coming up with a district by district plan for community engagement. So she'll be reaching out to each of you guys to see what you want to do in your districts for, more reach out from the county government and getting people engaged. Our plan is to have Kaylee present her preliminary ideas to the June committee meeting. So you'll be hearing from her pretty soon. Safety Day was today, and we had an excellent turnout down at the fairgrounds. This is the 3rd, I think, or 4th Safety Day that Tim Hunt and the HR team has put on. It is for all the highway, solid waste, recreation workers, not just here at the county, but for the towns and villages as well. We had excellent attendance, some really great sessions about National Grid and line safety. We had our insurance provider there with flagging safety, and everybody got their annual New York State trainings in terms of sexual harassment and workplace violence as well. And then we had a great lunch provided by the sponsors. So it's a very nice day and a great event. Last but not least, I'd just like to say that it is Public Employee Appreciation Week, and HR and the team in Human Resources have been doing a great job kind of highlighting and promoting each of the county departments, what they do, and celebrating, the important work of public service. So to all the employees of Lewis County, we say thank you for your public service on Public Employee Appreciation Week. So that is it for me, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. And we'll move to the county treasurer report. Eric, please.
Thank you very much. I have provided my written report, and I really don't have anything to add to that today. So if there's any questions about what was in there or anything else in general, I do my best to answer.
Okay, I don't see any questions, so we'll move to the report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee reports that they have examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $2,847,103.30 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Do I have a motion? Vince, second by Jeff. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So we're about, 10 minutes short?
6 minutes.
6 minutes. We can move to, is there any other business that we have before we start with the resolutions? We need to close the public hearing before we start on the resolutions. Okay, well, let's take a 5-minute recess and we'll come back and do the resolutions. Back in session, and we will go back to the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to make comments on the Round 8 Restore New York application for the redevelopment of 6832 McAlpine Street, Lions Falls, in an amount not to exceed $2 million? I don't see any interest, so at this point, we'll close that public hearing, and we'll move on to resolutions. So are there any resolutions in this packet that would, anyone would like to pull and vote on separately, other than Resolution 84?
Chairman, 94 as well.
94? So accepting those two, could I have a motion to move the packet forward as consent resolutions by Jessica? Do I have a second? Josh? Any discussion? All in favor of the consent packet? Anyone opposed? And the consent packet carries. And we will go back to 84.
Resolution number 84 is auditing and allowing claims in the amount of $2,847,103.30.
Need a motion, please? Barry, do I have a second? Vince? Any discussion?
Vouchers that I approved as the assigned council administrator.
Okay, we have that noted. And this is a roll call, so we will,
Legislator Calamus?
Yes.
Legislator Leindecker?
Yes.
Legislator Moorhan?
Yes.
Legislator Nellenbach?
Yes.
Legislator Frost?
Yes.
Legislator Mosier?
Yes, with the exception of the portion I'm recusing myself from.
Legislator Nortz?
Yes.
Legislator Leviker?
Yes.
Legislator Osborne has been excused, and Legislator Dahlhoff.
yes.
Resolution number 94, and before I read the title, I would like to point out that there was a typographical error, and anywheres that it is referencing Route 12, it should actually be Route 812. So I will go ahead and make that correction. But the resolution is awarding bid and authorizing contract between the County of Lewis and Adirondack Operations LLC Environmental Consulting to provide a professional hazardous material survey for Tubro LLC's cheese dairy plant at 7750 State Route 812 in the town of New Bremen.
Someone like to move that, please? Andrea, do I have a second? Jeff, any discussion?
I was just wondering if we got permission for access to the land yet?
I've been in touch with some of the Tubro principals, and we've also submitted a motion to the court in the event that they don't give us the signed access, which they did to the EPA a few years ago when the EPA went in. So if we don't have that access, I have a motion to the court for the county to get temporary access and ownership of the building for the study.
Any other comments or questions?
Chairman, maybe one question, and I apologize, I didn't notice this later, but funding for this, Joan, I don't know if you have discussed that, but don't know that we have any funding dedicated. Might we take this from our environmental cleanup fund, it's capital reserve? That's what we typically would do for a project like this.
I believe it's coming from the Planning's Community Development Fund.
I'm good with that answer.
Anything else?
Just one question. How long is this bid good for? I mean, if this legal process drags out, would we have to resubmit another bid? Is this to have like a, what do I want to say, a sundown or an end date?
We should have a decision on the motion within the next 60 days. And we've also alerted, we will alert the awardee that we have to have the access before they go in to do it. Yeah, yeah. And we may get the owner to sign in the meantime. Keeping my fingers crossed.
Anything else? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carries. That is the end of the resolutions. Do we have any other business? If not, someone like to make a motion to adjourn? Tom? Kelmus, second by Jeff. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Did you say yes, you're opposed? We're adjourned.